out of their Math 20-1. So I'm going to hopefully create some equations here using system of equations. And hopefully this works better than the random garbage I had in class. I've kind of hopefully cherry-picked this a little bit better and create some decent equations. So let's give it a go here. So I'm specifically saying in this question you have to use systems, but sometimes I don't have to say that to you. We're just trying to create an equation that fits through some very specific points, but they only give us one key piece of the characteristics. They give us the axis of symmetry, or like in the next question, they just literally give us part of the equation, but we're missing two things. So we have to figure out how to solve that. So most of the time when we're given another point, we use that other point that's not the vertex to help us find either the A or the Q. Most of the time it's the A because sometimes we're given the Q already. But these questions here, you notice that we're only given one piece of information. We're given this x is equal to -2, this axis of symmetry. So they're only giving us the p value to start off with here. And because it's -2, I'm going to go minus a negative, so my p value would end up being positive, or actually looks like a +2 here. Okay? So it kind of looks at the next question down there where we we're given this p value, but we're trying to find the a and the q, and we have to use these other points. So the y-intercept is a point on a graph. It has an x value. Remember, to find the y-intercept, you had to make x equal to 0. So we have the point 0, -4, and we also have the point -6, -7. So we've got to use those 2 points to help us figure this out. So the first point says that if I put a 0 in the x spot, I need to get a -4 out. All right, that's our first thing. So I could do some math here, a little bit quick ones here, like 0 plus 2 and then square, and we have 4. What does the a and what does the q have to be to make sure that happens? Now, I can't solve for a unless I know q, and I can't solve for q unless I know a. So that's what the other point's here for. And the other point's going to help me figure out what the equation is by putting in this point. So this one went that way. This is going to go this way. Okay, so if I put a -6 into this equation, let me erase that. I need to get a -7 out. Okay, so -6 plus 2 is 4, -4 specifically, and 4 squared 16. Okay, let's just do a little mental math there to figure out what the squared part is. -4, yep, squared is 16. Okay, looking good. Okay, so now we have these two equations. Both of them have the same unknowns. I can't solve one because I don't know one of the variables. So we're going to have to put them together and hopefully eliminate one of the variables so I can solve for the one that's left over. So now either one of these could be put on the top. Now usually I put the one with the bigger positive a value on top. So when I put this on top of that one, I'm going to go -7, 16a plus q, and on the bottom over this, I'm going to go 4a plus q. Because the q values have the same value, I am going to subtract these two. So I am minusing a -4 there. So it's going to go -7 minus a -4. So I get a -3 here. Over here, I'm going to go 16 minus 4 and get 12. And q minus q is 0. Rearranging this, I get a is equal to 1 or -1 over 4. So you divide both sides by 12 here. Divide by 12, divide by 12. 3 over 12 ends up being 1/4. Okay, so now the a is a nice a-ish. It's a fraction, makes the graph wider. It's negative, it's opening down. But now we've got to find the q value to go with that. So I'm trying to find the whole equation, not just the a value. We're going to find the a and the q. You already have the p to give us the p. So we're going to put this a value into one of these two equations. Now I'm looking at these, both will be about the same difficulty. I'm going to use the one with the 4a in it, the smaller number. So I'm going to put this a into this first equation we created. So I'm going to go -4 times my a value, which we just found, and then plus q. Now this is nice. 4 times a quarter. That's just 1. 4 divided by 4 is 1, but it's negative 1. It's negative here. So you do multiplication first. Kind of simplify it down. You just have to get the q by itself now, so I'm just going to take this negative 1, I'm going to add it over to the other side, and I'm going to get a negative 3 for my q. Okay, so we've got an a. Let me just kind of organize this a little bit. Okay, so we've got an a, we've got a q, we got a p. Let's put them all together. It says at the top, determine the equation. So my equation is going to be y is equal to negative 1/4 bracket x, we would have the plus 2 from before, that's our p-value, squared minus 3. And there's my equation. There we go. Cool. Okay, that's essentially how it's done. You could test that if you plug that in your calculator, and you could see that it passes through these points and has a proper axis symmetry. You can definitely just plug it in and see if it actually works. You probably would be able to see these points. You'd definitely be able to see the y-intercept. This one here, it'd be kind of floating off in the distance. You could probably trace the graph and find out if it actually exists there. But it seems like this is the equation I used to make it, so looks good. So we're going to do the same thing with this next one, but this time they've just given us the p-value. They just said, oh, here's the minus 5, and here we have these 2 points. So we can put any one of these 2 points in. So if I put a 7 in, I need to get a 5 out. So I'll put a 5 here. If I put a 7 in, I need to get a 5 out. So I'm just going to simplify this down nicely. So 7 minus 5 is 2. 2 squared. Maybe I'll just rearrange this. So 2 squared is 4, so I got 4a plus q. And I'm going to do the same thing with the 6. If I put a 6 in the equation, I need to get a negative 1 out. So 6 minus 1 is 1, or 6 minus 5, sorry, is 1, 1 squared. It's a nice equation. Okay, cool. Oh, you put a 1 there if you want to. Look at that. Because the 4 is the bigger number, like of the a's, I'm going to put that one on the top. So I'll go 5 is equal to 4a plus q, and then on the bottom of that one, underneath it, 1a plus q with a negative 1 in there. Subtract my 2 rows. Well, I get a minus and a negative, so this technically is adding. So it turns to a 6, a 3, and a q. Oh, the q's gone. Ooh, what am I doing there? Let's get rid of that. All right. Now we've got the a. We've got the a by itself here, so I'm just going to divide by 3. Divide by 3, and you get a 2. Sweet. That's a nice number. Probably did something right. Okay. On the next one over here, we have to find out what the q is. So I'm going to pick an equation. I'm going to pick the second equation. It looks nicer. So it's just 1 times a. So this is going to be a 2 in this spot here, plus q. I'm going to take that 2, just minus it over, minus 2. Get the q by itself. And I get q is equal to negative 3. All right, now we're just going to put it all back together. So that determine the equation. We've got a is equal to 2. We've got x minus 5 squared minus 3. There we go. A little box around the answer. I'm just going to put a little line. Cool. Hopefully, that clarifies some stuff about using systems to create the equations. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.